Hello, everybody. Hi, chat. Good morning and welcome to the Legend Fiction show. This is our live stream. I help indie fiction authors love writing again so that they can get their dream novel finished. And that's why we've got our community. That's why we've got these live streams. I think there are authors exactly like me because they are stuck. We don't know how to reach our dreams, especially when it comes to writing a novel. We don't know how to finish that novel. And we don't know how to find our readers and find our authors, find our readers and work with other authors. So we get stuck, right? And we're tired of advice out there that sucks because there are so many channels sharing all kinds of things. So I want to bring together the advice that I have found to be the most helpful for helping indie fiction authors who are exactly like me, who don't have a budget, who don't have a lot of time, and who definitely don't need or want permission from anybody to go and do the things that they believe are important to do. So, subscribe and follow as we're working to help indie fiction authors find their freedom by building writing habits that finish your novel so that we can grow as authors without budgets or limits holding us back. I am your host, founder of the writing community Legend Fiction. My name is Dominic. I've been nuts about writing novels ever since I was 13 when I wrote my first one. I've written about 3 novels now and a bunch of different nonfiction books. Okay, maybe 3 of those too. And I have no idea how many short stories I've written because that's always the easiest thing to write. Keep writing short stories. Awesome practice. I now work full time in marketing, and this is a passion project of mine to meet cool people, meet authors. And that's what we're doing today. If you have not checked out the Legend Fiction community, it is a fantastic place. It is the coolest community in the world for authors to double, triple their writing feedback and grow together. Now, we got a full lineup of exciting content today. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try live editing a story with you. We've also got a featured story. Um, from a brand new anthology of short stories that was published by our community. We hosted a writing challenge this past month, and we got about 12 really epic little stories from authors. I'm gonna see if I can show you what it looks like. It looks pretty epic. Hold on. Let me go to the cover forward. There you go. Look at that. Maybe you can see that. All right. Quilldrake. All right. We created an anthology. We called it Quilldrake, 12 stories from our authors. So I'm going to read one of those stories. It is available completely for free. In fact, before I forget, I'm going to head over to the live stream and I'm going to drop the link in the chat so that you can grab that whenever you are ready. Get, get Quilldrake. And if you haven't refreshed, you can do that now and you'll see that URL. You can download a free copy and enjoy that immediately. All right. So I'm going to read through one of those stories. And yes, I'm going to read my story because I thought it was pretty fun. Maybe next week we'll come back and we'll read another story. I think it'll be a pretty cool thing to share. Now, I've also got this epic little book that I've crafted called A Guide to On Fairy Stories. There you go. So I'm going to read another chapter out of that one, which is awesome because everybody loves Tolkien, and Tolkien is just a fantastic guy to think through. And a lot of us have never read his manifesto that he wrote 100 years ago about why fantasy and fairy stories matter. I mean, technically, he was talking about fairy tales. Today, that's now become the entire genre of fantasy. And then we have a whole ton of news and stuff that I would like to go through. And so um, I'm trying to now clip out and share super helpful news that I find is interesting and helpful to me as an indie fiction author. And hopefully it's also interesting for those in my community and those following this channel. If you're an indie fiction author, you're trying to grow, without a budget, and you're trying to sell more books, and you're trying to find your readers, and you don't want to be dancing on TikTok because, throw out your back, or you just, you don't like dancing. That's not your thing. So there are other ways and other things to do. And some of them, us at Legend Fiction, are inventing new things to do so that authors can tap in because we want to write books. We love books. Books are awesome. So I'm going to start with, while we're going to have a relaxed kind of morning. Maybe later we'll have a guest come on and we can go through some more of our news. But I'm going to start with something I've not done before, which is live editing. Now, live editing is so helpful. I wish I'd had this when I was a kid, learning how to write, because it's one thing to get into writing a story and just getting it on the page, but the magic comes from editing and how to make editing feel doable. So I've got a story that I've written. I wrote it like a month and a half ago. Literally did the first draft and then shipped it to the community. And this is part of my workflow. May not work for you. Hate on it if you want. It's what works for me, mostly because I've spent a long time learning how to write. So I feel a little confident that when I draft something, it's okay. And so to confirm myself in that and to not get stuck in the editing and then look going back over and over. So what I do is I'll do a draft, maybe do a quick read through, and then publish it. Either share it online, share it with a feedback group, which is almost always a better thing to do. So I'll usually share it with the legend fiction writing community, see if anybody likes it, see if they catch anything, and then maybe a couple of weeks later or the next day, come back, read through it one more time, see if I see anything. If not, ship it. For me, by the time I get down to writing a story, because I write infrequently and I don't have a daily writing habit yet, which is our challenge. My challenge for this year is to find a way to do that, to create the systems to make that happen. Um, because I don't write frequently, I'm usually, and not everybody wants to, and that's okay. I'm usually scrubbing through and thinking through the story that I am wanting to write. So by the time I actually sit down to write, I got a pretty good idea until the very second that the words hit the page. And then I'm like, characters go and do what they want to do. So, like I say, I've got this story, and we're going to shift into. I'm going to do a little screen share here, um, and we will go into editing. If you want, you are welcome to come back later or enjoy. Let's see where to go here. Come back later or something, or you can just hang around, and we'll go through this process of. There we go, writing, and I will try to be as helpful as I can, talking through and thinking through my personal process for center myself, personal process for how I think and process, you know, editing. So let me move stuff around a little bit. I'm going to put this over here. So here we go. And if you've got any questions at any point, go ahead and say hi in the chat. So this story here, it's for a book that an anthology of stories that I am putting together for our upcoming online con Legend Haven. And the dream is to be able to offer a collection of short stories set in the world of Legend Haven. Um, and this is the sort of founding story. So what I'll do is I'll find very epic art that illustrates the world that I want to spend some time in, and then I will study that art. Maybe I'll generate it and then come up with a story um, around that. And so this is my story. Now, this is a setup for the world to help people start to feel, what it's like to be in this world so that they can go on and create their own stories. Then, towards the end, I'm thinking about this afterwards. I need to take my ending and turn it into a bonus section. So the two things I need to accomplish in this one is I just need to read through. Does it work? I'm going to read it aloud. Two, um, I need to ensure the beginning clearly foreshadows or sets up the character and his attitude and the problem, and I need him to get in trouble a lot earlier. I need his relationship with his friend who is out in the wilderness and in trouble. I need to hype that drama a little bit more because it was not clear earlier on. And then towards the end, like I say, I need to separate the ending, find an actual ending, and turn it into like a bonus ending because there's extra stuff that tees up other stories. Certainly not too much to try to accomplish in like a half hour, something like that. Okay, if you're with me, let's give this a go. And what will probably happen is I'm going to take these live streams and make them, how do you say, available afterwards only for members. All right. So let's get my keyboard here. Hopefully this stays nice and clear. Actually, I wonder if I can move my microphone around so that it's over the keyboard. Well, hopefully that works and that's not a problem. Let's just leave it the way it was. Hopefully that works and it's not a problem. Okay. Banner mark, the sign of the undead visioneer. You have somewhere to be, soldier. Okay, so we actually need a bit of context on that line. Who said that? Um, so I didn't even clarify who this was. All right, so you have somewhere to be, soldier. Saravor, captain of the guard. Um, barked. Let's go with barked Saravor, captain of the guard. I'll turn up my mic a little bit and push it away. Draviel realized he was staring at the hourglass on the captain's desk. He stiffened, snapped his eyes to the courtyard wall, snapped his eyes up toward the courtyard wall, tried to hide his fidgeting. Sorry, sir. It's almost the second watch, and I'm due on the east wall. Huge, heavy-set, and sharp-eyed, Saravor checked the hourglass and then glanced at the brooding heavy skies. You'll have time. It's just that a scout is out there, and we agreed to signal at exactly. I said. Saravor sat down slowly at his field table. You'll have time. Sat down slowly, in his armor. A little more dramatic. It's just that my visioneer is out there. So what I'm trying to do is like set up questions, indicate that we're in the middle of a situation. So I'm trying to get right into the action very quickly. Draviel pulled a deep breath through his teeth. There we go. So I need some clarity. Pulled a deep breath through his teeth. Pulled it in long and slow to quieten his gut. He raised his chin to the third position, brushed a quick check across the buckles of his collar and hauberk, and locked into stance. Brushed what? Brushed his fingers in a quick check, or brushed his fingers quickly. They stood inside the outer wall of Castle Bannermark, space hemmed by towers and raised walkways to create a killing zone if invaders ever made it through the first wall. Surrounded by gigantic shards of fractured bedrock, this fortress city of white stone was built in the crater of an ancient impact. Ancient impact of what? Of a fallen star. The City of Banners, it was called. The City of Banners, it was called. Period. That's not clear. Triangles of colored cloth tugged and snapped on every tower. So, okay, I remember somebody giving me feedback that I've gone from intro and setup into a bunch of description, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we've got there's not enough clarity, so we need to actually literally describe or create a bit of description or create a bit of clarity. So we've got this line here, his best friend Radomirel. Actually, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So let's literally describe what's going on. We don't have context. Okay, so to quieten his gut, Radomirel was a visioneer, his friend, and actually, this reminds me. The idea is that a visioneer, well, his friend. So a visioneer is somebody who has magical powers in this world who can sense like magic of the gods. Um, and then Draviel is a wall guard. Now the question is, why are they friends? Well, because they are his friend since childhood, and they hung out on the east wall. Did I say east wall? Yes. And they hung out, now let's do wall tops. They hung out on the wall tops regularly to watch for, they hung out on the wall tops regularly. Let's see, 2 days ago, Radomirel had slipped out to investigate something on the far side of the hard water. And if Draviel, let's see, they agreed to signal each other every night at the second watch so that they knew, so that Draviel knew he was still alive, was still alive. All right. I think that helps. That gives a bit more context. So let's keep going, and then we might come back. Problem was, Admiral hadn't told anyone or cleared it with his visioneer, hierarchs, visioneer, people who are higher than him, superiors. So we'll go with Draviel, raised his chin. All right, so they stood inside the outer wall. Not they, let's go he. He stood to attention inside the outer wall of Castle Bannermark, a space hemmed by towers and raised walkways to create a killing zone if invaders ever made it through the first wall. All right, hopefully we've got a little bit of context about where we are, and then spreading up behind him raised the city. Spreading up behind him raised the city. Spreading up, that's a clunky turn of phrase. Spreading up behind him, the city roofed in green schist pushed up into the night, pushed up into the sky. Homes and temples and academies clustered close. Clustered together. It was late, evening, and stormy. Warming fires in the city turned the white walls golden and grainy with sparks. Loose snowflakes from the oncoming storm. We'll get rid of stormy from earlier now. Loose snowflakes from the oncoming storm spiraled past out of the dark sky. Spiraled down. Or that's probably enough. It was quiet now, with the city asleep, although not completely quiet. The temples still hummed with deep song. Let's go chant, more accurate. And the blacksmiths were never done with their anvils. Draviel glanced at the long log of wood dividing the courtyard in half. A few feet from where he stood, soldiers of the banner guard stepped over it on their way to the stables. Pages tried to walk on it and keep their balance when no one was looking. This was one of the massive larch stanchions, a flagpole reinforced with a sheath of braided iron, usually fitted into a stone base. The mark around the city was a wide ring of flags held up by such stanchions, poles. Long log of wood dividing the courtyard in half, like a fallen tree. So the mark around the city was a wide. The mark around the city was a wide ring. Let's go space. Around the city was marked, and not space. The borders. They'd hauled in one. Oh, and then something was tearing them down. That's what went out um, to get answers. That's what Radomiro went out to find. Out to find, that's clunky. Went out to hunt down. It's more accurate. They hauled in one of the poles and hauled in a pole and one of the Visioneers from the High Academy had thrown a tent around it. Thrown a tent had, um, let's say, built, draped a tent around one end. It was one of those fluttery, silky, pavilion-type tents with stars and blue lanterns. Draviel didn't mind other Visioneers. This is part of the thing. Draviel is, I wanted to indicate more of his personality. And part of his personality is that he's very good at um, calculating. So I needed to indicate that early on because it's going to be a bigger thing with him later. Quiet. So let's go here to quieten his gut. If this meeting only lasted, let's say, 10 minutes, he would have exactly 3 to make it back if he hurried. Okay. So that indicates that he's got attention to detail. All right, they'd hauled in a pole. Oop, that's plural. All right. Draviel didn't mind other Visioneers. His best friend, all right, we've now already indicated this. Radomirel was the only one without a stuck up steel spine. But he liked the ones who, let's go with most of the ones who partnered with the Banner Guard had better heads on their shoulders. The ones who hid away in the warm corridors with their books were didn't care for, or didn't pay attention to schedules. Radomirel had iron in his blood alongside the magic. Who hid away in the warm corridors. What, their soft muscles? Their soft muscles. No. Flabby from sitting and reading all day. I just say didn't impress him. Radomirel had iron in his blood, alongside the magic. The side of the tent flapped open. Let's say suddenly flapped open, and a soldier was dismissed inside. A tall Visioneer with spectacles leaned out, swathed in blue brocade, his hair pulled back and his wide sleeves cross-tied behind his shoulders. Where did that go? It moved. Hold on. Where did we go? Oh, all right. His hair pulled back, his wide sleeves cross-tied back, his hair pulled away from his face, his wide sleeves cross-tied back behind his shoulders, leaving thin, dark arms free for work. Sarabor, you have another for me, he asked. The guard captain stood and waved his hand at Draviel. Yes, Draviel. Supposed to be kind of Russian. Yes, this one is also paired with a Visioneer. He may have seen something. Where's your Visioneer, then? Actually, hold on. He already sort of indicated that. Where did you say your Visioneer was, man? Seen something? So we just need to reiterate that phrase. Seen what? Still didn't know why he was here. Why they had called him. He's out on excursion. He's outside the walls. He's out hunting tonight, he said. Come in, soldier. The Visioneer waved him in. So let's go. The Visioneer stared at him hard for a second and then waved him in. Come in, soldier. He disappeared into the bright tent's interior. Draviel nodded respectfully at the captain, to the captain, and followed the Visioneer into the tent. What he saw froze him with surprise. The base of the pole had been slashed and gnawed, the stained surface scored open to show the pale heartwood, like a rabid animal had chewed at it. What did that? He said without thinking. We were hoping you might have seen something, the Visioneer said. He was covering something with his palm. Seen something? Like what? What was this Visioneer hiding under his palm? You've not seen anything that could have done this. For a second, Draviel felt like he was going crazy. A beast like this would have been large, would have needed time. There was no way it could bring down a banner without being seen, and yet here was one. How could he have seen nothing from the wall tops? He shook his head. I'm on Eastwatch. I saw nothing that could do this. Have you asked South and West? The Visioneer pursed his lips. Tell me why these banners are vital. Vital? Draviel nodded, his eyes tracing the long slash lines in the wood. Each banner signifies a pact, the alliance of cities. The Visioneer nodded, but did it with an annoyed tilt to his head, as if hearing the wrong answer. Yes. Why? Draviel frowned. These were questions asked and answered in the hedge schools as children. Where was this going? You know what? Let's not say hedge schools. It doesn't actually work in this location. In the, let's do academies. It's children. Where was this going? Because the ancients summoned a god from the constellations and amid great destruction imprisoned it in the forges beneath our feet. This city and the alliance of Bannermark, so we should put commas in here. The alliance of Bannermark swore to never again, no, come on, do a comma, practice such dark magic, and our banners and temples serve at the will of God. The Visioneer nodded impatiently. Then what is this? He pulled his hand away, and Draviel was shocked for a second time. All right, let's break this up. That's a new concept. A chunk of crystal stuck in the end of a that looks like a tear. The end of a deep score. Does that make sense? A rent score? No, not a chunk. It was shaped. It was tooth shaped, as if something gnawed at it and ripped out a canine. Let's get rid of this line. And ripped out a canine. He bent closer to study it. He dropped to his knees. Let's get rid of this here. It was leaking magic into the air, a very tiny amount, like a wisp of colored smoke, similar to the auroral lights. Possibly even the same thing. He struggled to imagine what could have done this. What kind of beast was this? Why tear down a banner? How was it made of crystal? He glanced up. The Visioneer was watching him carefully, wiping his hands on a scented cloth. I don't understand. He is not clear. We need to make this Draviel. Draviel managed. He reached out to touch the shard. It almost looked like it could be soft somehow, and not brittle and hard. The Visioneer's hand was instantly on his, surprisingly strong fingers and tendons of stone freezing his arm midair. Don't touch it. Instantly on his, that doesn't make sense, was instantly locked, instantly slammed against his wrist. Surprisingly strong fingers and tendons of stone. Let's go stony. Stony tendons stopping. Stony tendons stopping. That's got a good, I like the sound of that. Surprisingly strong fingers and stony tendons stopping his arm mid-air. Don't touch it, he warned. Why? If it cuts you and draws blood, it infects you. You will turn into this substance. Draviel blinked. Was there anything else at large in the world that he didn't know about? What about More Vienne from the stories. Toothed, antlered beasts that haunted this mere long before the city was raised. Okay, so this is cool. I don't think I want to say this anymore because it kind of gives away the answer. He stood, squinted, and clapped his hands behind his back in a soldier's stance. So he stood, squinted at the man, and then returned to his soldier's stance and clapped his hands behind his back. I don't understand, Visioneer. Why am I here? I have to divulge a secret that. So we need a little bit of something more serious. The Visioneer um, slitted his eyes. No, half closed his eyes. Watched him carefully. Let's say watched him carefully. Watched him carefully and dropped the cloth over the broken tooth, hiding it from view. I have to divulge a secret that will kill you if you let it out. Already what you have seen will mean you are under special watch. Do you understand? The back of Draviel's neck prickled with fear. Didn't sound like he had an option. Sounded like Sauravor was already in on it. Before he could agree or disagree, the Visioneer continued. The banners are more than pledges from the Alliance, not from... Man, that page up thing keeps going. Where did that go? Here, the banners are more than pledges from the... not from. For the Alliance. Let's go. Period. And let's drop this. They are markers. We place them to mark the furthest reach of the auroral light. Understanding dawned on Draviel. That made more sense. That made sense why they kept raising them, raising new banners further out across the frozen lake. I don't want to say frozen, it's not frozen, hardwater lake. At seasonal times, the god's magic deep under the city glowed and rippled like rivers of light. The mere, once a deep, dark lake of water surrounding, of water as opposed to what else? Deep, dark lake surrounding the crater? Yeah, all right, surrounding the crater had become hard water. So I've already said this. Let's take that out. Had become hard water. No one understood what it was. It wasn't ice, wasn't glass, wasn't water, and yet it looked like water and acted like a sheer, slick ice surface that clinked and rang like a ceramic bowl or ceramic plate. And when the god glowed deep below, the light radiated out and the entire mirror glowed. So we've said glowed twice. So I want to say God glowed deep below. That just works beautifully. And the entire mirror, we could say lit up with bands of light like slow-moving smoke, muted greens folding and curving, steady, deliberate. Let's not say deliberate. Steady. Actually, take it that. Fading to edges of yellow and red. Trappers in the deep north claimed to have seen it in the sky too. Here it was trapped under the hard water, and the wall guard leaned on their spears to admire it. Let's put this earlier. And ever since they were children, the wall guard leaned on their spears to admire it. You're saying the god's magic is expanding? Draviel asked. Yes. And you're tracking it, Draviel added. Charting it, the Visioneer corrected. Sauravor said that you're paired with a Visioneer. All right, so this should be clear. So technically he should be asking him where the Visioneer is. So I need to move this earlier. All right, let's get rid of this. So we need to say, where's your Visioneer? This can actually now pull back. So I need him to be in a little more trouble earlier on. The fact that he needed to have gotten approval. Where'd you say your visioneer was? Seen something? Base of the pole. What did that? All right. Where is your visioneer, soldier? The man asked, clearly frustrated. And his name is Radomirel. Yes. He's out across the mere right now, hunting. What's harming these banners? Okay, so the visioneer glared at him. When did he leave? Yesterday. Did I say that yesterday? Trying to remember my time frame here. I think he went out like 2 days before. What else did I say? 2 days ago. Okay. So let's have space bar. Where is it? Here we go. When did he leave? 2 days ago. We agreed to signal each other on the west wall at the second watch every day. That way, I know he's yet alive. Visioneer wanted. Let's say he grit his teeth and nodded. Always been, say I'm a bit foreshadowing the end now, being a rebel. And keep that watch. I demand to speak to him as soon as he sets foot in the city. Yes, sir. If he left, what did he see? See? Something set him out on a hunt. What was it? The visioneer was covering something with his palm. So now we can get back into it. So I didn't see. He said something was out there and wanted to confirm it. If it was nothing, no harm done. He told me. And Draviel wondered what this visioneer was hiding under his palm. Period. Covering something on the pole. Could have done this. Okay, I think this is now making better sense. All right, so now we can get back to the end of this little scene. All right, so they are charting the banners. These banners are vital to our service to the god. Do you understand? The visioneer said through tensed teeth. Draviel nodded. I do. But he didn't really. It wasn't his job to. That was for visioneers to make sense of. Make sense of. If they fall, not only does the alliance from the Legend Haven hold us accountable, but we risk angering the god. We do. As its reach expands, it is vital we are there to mark and honor it, or we incur its anger. Let's be a bit clearer. Draviel didn't like the idea of an angry god underfoot. He nodded. Understood. I don't know that I have anything else to help you with. Am I free to go? Or that sounds a bit weird. I don't know that that I can that I have anything else to say. That's helpful. Am I free to go? The Visioneer turned away, hands on hips. Yes, bring your friend in. Bring me your friend. Not bring me your friend. I want to see your Visioneer immediately. Draviel stiffened in a respectful salute and threw a respectful salute and then hurried out of the tent. He saluted again to Sarivor, checked the hourglass, and he was definitely late. Yes, he was late. Let's move this around. And yes, he was late. Definitely late. All right, so what we don't have is any attention to time in this scene. So I just need to throw in a sentence. He was definitely out of time for the second watch. I think that's probably enough. I want to see him immediately. All right. He saluted again, checked the hourglass, and yes, he was late. Definitely. He tried to keep a dignified job. What is that jog? But he tried to keep to a dignified jog, but put some speed on it as he hurried up the stairs to the wall top and then followed the piers and lines of bridges. All right, that doesn't make sense. As he followed the piers and lines of bridges that connected to the outer wall on the east watch. It's probably enough. The wind was already strong tonight. He pulled his gloves. He pulled out his gloves, tucked into the small of his back, and tugged them on, grabbed a bronze lantern from its stand, and reached his assigned watch on the wall top. Checked the hourglass in the niche, waited a half minute for the final period, comma, blue grains to sift through, then flipped it over and locked it in place. He was proud of two things, being punctual and having great timing. He raised the lantern up and down 3 times. He raised the lantern. He turned toward the lake, raised the lantern up and down 3 times. All right, we need something else. And raised the lantern up and down 3 times, then hid it behind the wall for a second. Then did it again. His eyes probed the widening darkness, fields of hard water punctured by a forest of flags. Connected by keys and ropes. The city edged by keys and ropes. Beyond the last banner, he saw only darkness. All right, we're at 10 o'clock. I'm not even halfway through. So let me just think for a second about my timing here. 10 to 11 and 11 to 12. I think that's probably good. I think that's good enough for today. I may just simply continue doing this or continue working on another project at another time, but that was actually kind of cool to get back to and mess around with that. So that was editing. Let me move my things around here. So that was editing, and I'll turn down the sensitivity. And we'll probably, like I say, maybe come back next week and keep doing a little bit of editing every time. Helps me get a project done and also helps work through and show how editing process can work for those who struggle with it. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so I've got a little story that I want to share with you, and I'm going to screen share again the very cool gift that we have on the Legend Fiction website, and you can get it for free. It's in the chat. It's in the description. There's the link. So here it is again. So here's the story, a collection of 12 stories, and it's called Quilldrake. It was a fun little challenge that we hosted in the Legend Fiction community, where we put up 1,000-word. It's a flash fiction challenge, and you had to write a story in 1,000 words or less. Certainly not more. And we got about 12 authors who wrote stories, and it was fantastic. Like, the creativity was so fun. So what I think we might do is read a story, and depending on how far we get, I might read a second one, but we'll start with one. And because I'm an absolute so-and-so, I'm going to read mine because I think it was very fun and very cool. So I hope that you enjoy it. You can grab the description, the link to the whole book in the description, and I've got it here. It's a free ebook. I just downloaded it, pulled it open to read it. You can send it to your Kindle, you can import it to your Kindle or your e-reader. So the story that I crafted, it's under 1,000 words. Interesting to sort of time this, see how long it takes. It's called Quilldrake and Me. All right, I'm just going to check my audio, make sure that my audio sounds loud enough. It's actually not very loud. Let me turn it up a little bit. Testing, testing. Does that sound loud enough? I turn it up a little bit more. How is that? That's at like a 4. That actually probably looks like it should. Okay, I think that's loud enough. All right, Quilldrake and Me. You'd think I'd be used to them by now, but nope. These things are weird. So weird. And all the rosemary plants money can buy doesn't keep them out of my studio at the end of the garden. And they like coffee. Why couldn't they like anything else? At least mosquitoes like blood. I don't mind that so much. I can spare that, sort of. But my fresh cup of coffee, still steaming and seconds away from an inspiring sip, pulls this thing like a bug from another dimension. For one, I don't need a house cat with these things around. One sniff of this quilldrake's glamour or aura or whatever it is they trail behind them in the air, and every mouse bolts straight through the nearest wall and doesn't stop till it finds a new hole in Pedalsbury. And that's 10 miles away. Second, I don't feel so alone. It's been ages since something other than the cows across the road burped hello in the morning. Been years. I got used to the silence. My throat's got dust on the inside from disuse. A dusty old shed probably doesn't help. Here comes one now. I've literally just walked in. The studio was blank a second ago, speckled with dust motes and that nice musty smell that comes from storing used gardening tools, boxes of summer apples, and piles of empty burlap next to my writing desk. I write here because it's quiet, or at least it was. No one used to bother me here. All the grandkids used to be afraid of getting splinters in their fingers. All I need. There we go. That's perfect for me. My old leathery hands don't care much for that. I just need a quiet table, bit of sunlight, some Wi Fi, and anything more than 7% on the laptop battery. I keep the grime brushed away on the center of the desk, pin back the ivy with a bit of brick. Would have stayed a perfect sanctuary. Except, who'da thunk? Coffee summons quilldrakes. The air burps, folds like a warping cloth, and a little dragon pops into the air. Something shimmery and dusty hangs in the air behind it. Tight little greeny scales, bright glossy eyes, and a pair of thin, translucent membrane wings catch the light like stained glass made of pale skin. It makes a beeline for my mug, sees me, pauses, tilts its head. The ridge of pale fur running down its spine flexes like it's sensing the air. It keeps its limbs folded tight, just like a dog. In fact, it's exactly like a dog. The way a dog will pop its paw off the ground and bend it as if to say, "We're cool. I'm friendly." Hell of a nip, though, with those little jaws. I learned my lesson. The first time it appeared was the first time I ever tried those new beans. I like to grind my own. Go to the next page. I like to grind my own. Just tastes better that way. And then this baby Drake drops in out of nowhere, and I freaked out and heard myself yelling a whole lot of things my old lady would have gone and called the preacher over, and shouting like a maniac, I threw my whole mug at it, and the black coffee slashed through the air and turned to steam on hitting its scales, and then I grabbed a shovel off the wall and started swinging. Perfectly good cup of coffee wasted there. Ah, it's probably my fault I gave a baby dragon a caffeine problem. The shovel still lies half melted in the corner. Unusable. Lesson learned. Even when that little, even when that little, these things burn with sweet hellfire. I set my done mug down, that golden foam gilding the edge of the cup. The quilldrake hops through the air. We have our ritual now, the normal way to do things, and no one gets hurt. It sniffs carefully, appreciatively, testing the air with its toes, pulling close in the sunlight to the edge of the window. I know that drink is hot. Came straight out of the pot a minute ago, would take the roof off my mouth. It dips its muzzle over the lip of the mug, inhales deeply, and then a tiny pink slip of tongue whips in and out like a dog, faster than I can see, and pulls up a tiny stream straight into its jaws. I sure hope I'm not getting magical dragon cooties from this thing. But heat kills bacteria, so I'm probably okay. Satisfied, it stretches, yawns, and then pops out of this dimension again. I quickly scoop the cup away from the time space rift. I don't need that mug going through and summoning anything bigger. Where does it go? Where does it come from? Absolutely no idea. No way to control it. And I don't want that thing showing up in the house. So I keep things on the regular, come out to the end of the garden, offer it a little libation, and get down to paying the rent by stitching words together. Some days I think I'm nuts. I probably am. But that shovel is a reminder. Oh, and it magically refills my battery to 100%. Fastest chi charger I ever did see. So I don't mind. We have our thing going, the Quilldrake and me. But the kids will never believe this. So there you go. Short story from the ebook Quilldrake. My short story. I'm a little bit proud of it. I think it came out pretty well. So you can, if you look in the description, there's a link to grab the whole ebook. And that only took about 10 minutes. So I think I'm actually going to read another one. So you can check it out. In the description, you can download a free copy of the book and you can enjoy it and have fun with it. We've got a bunch of authors from our community because it was a flash fiction challenge and you had to write a short story in about 1,000 words. Let's see. I've got another. I'm going to pull a story here. Let's see. Who's got another cool story that we can read? Don't Pet the Dragons by Karina Turner. I'm going to do that one. Karina's an awesome person. All right, Don't Pet the Dragons. It is number 7 in the ebook. So sit back and enjoy. Look at that. The teenaged Earth boy pointed into the meadow, eyes wide. His twin sister grinned. They're so cute. A flock of tiny silver dragons gamboled round, taking flight briefly as they snatched dragonfly like prey from the air and then rooted on the meadow floor for whatever else they could find. Each shimmered with a different green, blue, or yellow sheen, with long, droopy black points along the ridge of their backs. Don't pet the dragons, an old Jar Jar born man told the twins sternly. They're not like the dragons on your planet. We don't have dragons on our planet, said the boy, except in stories where brave knights have to slay them, or bishops must pray them away. All the more reason to stay away from these, the old man said sternly, and then went on his way, his wide based stick helping him balance on the deep, springy, moss like plant that grew everywhere underfoot. Once he was out of earshot, the girl snorted. Look at the size of them. They're so tiny. Not like the famous dragons of Kalila, too. Totally harmless, agreed the boy. They both moved forward towards the flock of little Jar Jar dragonettes. Here, little one, here, called the girl, and then added to her brother, I'm going to pick up this baby one and take it home for a pet. She moved determinedly towards a tiny silver dragon with turquoise green highlights, making a slightly larger dragon flick open its red ears and hiss. I don't think the mother likes that plan, said the boy. The sister made a noise. Look at her cute little itsy bitsy teeth. What can she do? With that, she reached out and seized the baby dragon, which squeaked and struggled helplessly. With a far louder hiss, the mother crouched, her rear haunches raising. The long, thin spines of her back crest rose and flipped forward to point at the girl. As several spines shot from the dragon and embedded themselves in her hands, the hapless earth teen screamed and released the baby. Meeping in relief, the little dragon ran back to its mother. Oh, ow! Cried the would be dragon snatcher. Are they poisonous? Ow! Her brother rushed forward to help her, skidding to a halt as the entire flock of dragons suddenly flipped their crest spines forward to point at him. Come on, quick! He grabbed his sister's arm and pulled her toward the path. They both ran, ducking low in fear of dragon launched missiles, but the glittering creatures did not follow them. Soon they met the old man coming back to investigate the screams. Better get those out pronto, he told them, and proceeded to yank the spines from the girl's hands without ceremony. Now, get along to the hospital pod and ask for Quilldrake antivenom. Quilldrakes? Echoed the boy, as his sister clutched her hands and sobbed. Is that what they were? Aye, smallest known family of dragon in the galaxy, but the deadliest. Fear not, though. Royal silver ravens, the species you just ran afoul of, have only mild poison in their quills. Get your sister to a doc. She'll be as good as new in a few days. They even say that those stabbed by a silver raven become great writers. As the boy put his arms around his sister and steered her down the path, the old man shouted after them, and remember, on Jar Jar, don't pet the dragons. The end of that story. And that's from Karina Turner in the Legend Fiction community. She's been writing since she was 14 and likes strong protagonists with plenty of integrity, author of over 25 books. Used to have a giant African land snail named Peter. So you can check out her website at iammargaret.co.uk. You can Google Karina Turner, or you can have a look at the link in the description, and you can download a free copy of the ebook Quilldrake with 12 short stories, including one from me. And I just read Karina Turner's and one from Gabby Battel, and so on. All right, we're now at 10:15. Goodness, it actually doesn't take that long to read through these short stories. All right, so part of the next section in our show, while we are counting down towards our news section, and we should have one of our author friends join us. But I've got this book that I've crafted called A Guide to On Fairy Stories, and I'm hoping that that shows up properly and you can read it okay. Let me know in the chat. Is that showing up okay? And you can see that clearly. Hopefully, I've not got this thing like reversed. So hopefully that's clear. And I could probably have a quick look and check it out. Yeah, that's nice. It actually is showing up nicely. All right, cool. So it's a guide to on fairy stories, Tolkien storycraft, and the deep purpose of fantasy fiction by yours truly. This came out of a series of 5 or so live stream conversations with Legend Fiction friends. Here's what it says on the back. A century ago, a war ravaged veteran, our beloved Tolkien, returned from the trenches to write a manifesto for fairy tales and fantasy storytelling. This is based on 5 hours of deep conversations among Legend Fiction mentors. We're unpacking Tolkien's manifesto and revealing how it reshaped the modern imagination with humor, heart, and grounded reflections, or so we like to tell ourselves. Each chapter connects Tolkien's philosophy to real life, helping today's writers re enchant their craft. So, one of the previous live streams, we read chapter 1 from this. So I'm going to go into chapter 2, and then I'm going to clip this out afterwards, and then we'll share this on the channel so people can enjoy it. Okay, Tolkien's theory of sub-creation. So sit back, drink your coffee. I should probably finish mine or check mine. Excuse me a second. It's cold. I need a Quilldrake to warm that up, don't I? Tolkien's theory of sub-creation, why imagination is a sacred power. There's this word Tolkien coined that most people outside of his fan base never really hear, but it might be the most important word for any fiction writer who wants their stories to actually mean something. And when we create, we're not just building sandcastles or escape rooms, we're borrowing a bit of the divine power of creation itself. Imagination as spiritual power. Tolkien wasn't being cute about this. For him, imagination wasn't a personality trait, it was a spiritual power, a vocation. And he believed the ability to create believable secondary worlds, fantasy realms with their own laws, beauty, peril, and wonder was a kind of echo of that power. It's a way for us to honor the creator by reflecting his nature. He even drew a hard line between making something symbolic and making something real. When you write a story that rings true, that world becomes coherent on its own terms. It's not just a metaphor, actually becomes an experience. A sub created world is not less real because it is imagined. It's real in a different way, one that brings real life to the soul. And this is why Tolkien talks about the difference between successful subcreation and mere make believe. When a story pulls you in and holds together, you don't have to suspend disbelief. Like you have to like work at it to like stop judging the story. You believe it because it's coherent, because it holds together, because the imagination has done its job, because the storyteller honored the rules of the world that they built. So, power isn't neutral. Tolkien believed that our fallenness and our moral flaws can actually stain the act of creation. Just like evil twisted elves into orcs in his myths, we can twist imagination into propaganda, manipulation, indulgence. Just look at the bestseller list right now. This means the power to imagine isn't neutral. It does demand responsibility, it demands for reverence, there's integrity. If that sounds like a heavy burden, maybe it is, but it can also be an incredible freedom. You don't have to invent something to matter. You just might need to be as faithful as you can to the deep truth that you're trying to share, to craft on purpose, and not just from starving artist agony that's trying to write to market to do anything. This is what makes Tolkien's work so different from so much of modern fantasy. It wasn't built to perform or to entertain. It wasn't built to preach either. It was built because, for him, it had to be. Because the stories lived inside him and he felt a call to bring it into a shared reality with the rest of us. And that's what subcreation is. Imagination matters. This doesn't mean every fantasy author needs to build a language and a thousand-year history of a fictional race. But it does mean we need to treat our imagination like it matters, not just a sandbox, but like a seed bed, something alive, maybe something sacred. If you're a writer and you feel that instinct to build, to create, to shape stories out of light and sorrow and hope, you're participating in something eternal. You're not just making stuff up, you're echoing something that came before you. And that's why Tolkien says subcreation is the highest function of the human soul when it's in right relationship with God. It's a gift. And like any gift, it can be wasted or can be wielded. Chapter 2 from A Guide to On Fairy Stories by Dominic, yours truly, chief nerd at Legend Fiction. All right, we're at 1021. If any of this has been interesting, and if you're hanging around, please say hi in the comments. Drop me a thumbs up, give me a wave. Let me know that I'm showing up, that the audio is actually working. I think that we will have Gabby from the Legend Fiction community joining us in a minute. We got a whole lot of fascinating news to get through, news for indie authors. Now, I want to share with you a little about a very fun project that we have been working on in the Legend Fiction community. So I'm going to screen share and pull this up here. We've created a tournament. So if you're a word count warrior and you like writing, let me head over to that group. If you enjoy writing, you enjoy writing with friends, well, we've created a tournament. Uh, Here's how it works. Here's the idea. You're trying to keep up with your writing goals every month, and you're probably doing it on your own. There are probably tools that you're using that are tracking your word count or something. There are some that lock your computer down if you're not keeping up with your writing goals. So what we figured was, what if we do something different? Okay, we've got this writing community. What if individual authors could create their own little group? Okay, give it a cool name. It's a bit like esports. Okay, you create a little group. You invite three other authors with you. So that's four authors in a pod. You create a little chat where you all hang out together and you motivate each other and you write together, and then you compete to win. And the goal is whoever has the highest word count across the four of you. Um, you put the four of you together, and then you have a total word count. Let's say across four people, maybe you wrote, who knows, 30,000 words in 1 month. Okay, which actually isn't that massive if you're trying to write daily. Anyhow, let's say one team. We've got what group in there called the Writers of Rohan, which is so awesome. Writers of Rohan, let's say they did 30,000 words across four authors in 1 month. Well, then you come along and you've got another group, maybe called the Sandersons or the Book Nerds, whatever, and they did 35,000 in 1 month. They are going to then win the banner. So let me go in here and I'll show you, for example, the rules. We are in our first month of testing this. So you can win a legend banner, which means you're going to be featured up in this header area. So the four faces of your profile, it's going to be up there. The name of your group is going to be featured up there, and you're going to get a little badge on your profile for bragging rights. This also then means as new people join our community, you can have a look around like, okay, who's the top dog in here that I can take on and maybe outright, and then see how long you can hold that banner. Because if you hold it for 1 month, or if you're the winner for 1 month, somebody else can then come in, outright your team, and take away that banner from you. So if you win, if you write the most, you'll get featured in the tournament space and you'll get a blog shout out. Now, not everybody wants this. Again, not everybody wants to be a word count warrior, and that's totally fine. Some of us write when we can. I would probably, as much as I like tournaments, I would probably be awful at this because I'm not able to keep to a schedule because of everything that happens in life, whatever, and I'm building up a system. There are members in our community who write every single day, and they are fantastic about this. This is for those people where daily word counts matter, writing together in a small group, and you're chatting with each other like every single day. What did you do? Keep it going. Get your word count in, even if it's 3 words, right? Even if it's 10 words, that's 10 more than we had before. So you're building a small, close group of friends. I mean, ultimately, that's the whole point of this tournament is write with friends, stay motivated together because your friends are counting on you. And then, of course, you get a little bit of a win, right? You get to get a badge and you get a public shout out. And then if you can hold it for 3 months, so we're currently in our first season of the Quilldrake season. So if you hold it through February and March, then you win a second banner. So it's of course even hard to do to hold it for 3 months. Next season, um, starting in the next quarter, we'll have a whole new look, whole new badges, and so on that you can earn. So here's how it works: you form a squad with 3 other authors. Give it a name. If you can actually create your own logo, that's really cool too. Publish your name and your list of teammates right here inside the group. I'll show you what that looks like. You press that, it's going to pull this up. Anyone can start a tournament team. If you did, what would you call it? Some people come up with such funny names like Nightly Word Counts, The Right Stuff, Event Horizons, Pros and Cons. Like these are hilarious. You can then just let people know, I'm starting a group. And anybody who's not in one can go, hey, can I join? Can I join? Or if you have a couple of community members that you want to hang out with, you can personally invite them to join your team. You then encourage each other to write and tally your word counts. And then on the 30th of each month, each team shares their total word count here. So we've got a deadline that you can RSVP to get a reminder. And then you're going to share your word count right here in the sidebar. So let me just go back and I'll scroll down again. And then the highest number of words earns the legend banner. And all fiction writing counts. So whether it's for school or if you're writing for one of our anthologies or making progress in your novels and stories. And then every season, the team resets all the word counts to 0 so that new teams can challenge whoever's the legend banners from last time. And you don't win once. You defend your place till someone outwrites you and takes your title. When they do, you'll lose the badge from your profile. But your victories will be chronicled forever, but the banner will pass on. And then we got a couple of FAQs. You can start a whole new team if you want. How do you start a group chat? You can press this link and it'll show you. Can someone inflate their word count? Well, maybe we're testing this with a shared honor system. Cheating does disqualify your team. We are also building this out for the first time. So some people are just taking screenshots of their word count every day and they're putting it right in the chats with their friends and then tallying them up. Somebody else is starting like an Excel spreadsheet and then they're just sort of clocking them all in. So we'll figure out the best way to do this. And if somebody does not like competition, you do not have to enter. And then if one team dominates every season, well, then good. Everybody goes to work or maybe starts brand new teams to take them on. So there you go. I think this is going to be just so much fun. So if you join this space, you can then see everybody who is in the tournament. So look at all these. These are our word count warriors who are hands down in love with getting lots of writing in. There is a feed where you can create and share posts and you can talk with other people. See, for example, this one person here is looking for people to join them. All right. That's our tournament. I think it's such an incredibly fun thing to do. All right, let me go back over to our welcome area. Got a new welcome guide. All right, I'm going to double check in to see if my good friend Gabby is going to be joining us. And then we're going to be getting into news. We're about 2 minutes out from our news section. So if you've got any questions about anything at all, please drop them in the comments and say hi. All right, so she'll be in about 50, 45 minutes. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I know what I can also share with you. Our creative writing school. So we actually have one. We have a creative writing school and it is live. We are now pulling into our second month. Got a bunch of students in there already. And Gabby has got like incredibly generous stuff that she offers for people who want to get writing. More than that, more than just like getting a lesson or some recommended reading, you actually get personalized expert coaching from Gabby. So here's what happens. She and I have gone and recorded lessons, and you can come in here and you can watch these lessons. She and I, come on, go back. No, 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 don't do that. She and I talked through and we recorded these lessons together, sharing our ideas and our expertise and what we think and all of that. And there's little takeaways below that. And then you can drop into your comments. And then every week you can send to Gabby about 1,000 words of what you're working on. And she'll read it, looking especially for the lesson that you're on or the month that you're in to give you that kind of feedback so that you can make progress. You can make process or you can make progress as an author. The goal of our program, of our creative writing school, is to help you finish a novel in 12 months. So, one of the first things that Gabby does as soon as you sign on is she'll ask you, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to write a collection of short stories? Do you want to write a novel? If you want to write a novel, is it for what age demographic, what genre? Based on that, it's probably going to be an X number word count. For example, if it's YA, might be 80,000 words. If it's for adults, might be 120,000 words. Depends on what you want to accomplish. So she'll interview you and work with you on that. And then once you got that word count, then she'll break it all the way down to, well, that means you need to only write about 300 words a day. If you can write 300 words a day and you're taking off weekends, for example, then within 12 months, you will have finished your novel. And you can go through all of these fantastic lessons. So we're now into 2 months in. We've got hero's journey, hooking readers on the first page, and powerful, inciting incidents. These lessons are so fun. We've already got awesome feedback from our students. So once a month, Gabby will jump on the show and she'll give us a little bit of an overview of how it's going. So this creative writing school, I will let me see if I can go over to the website. If you're interested, you can have a quick look at how it works. We've got a full breakdown on our website. We've got a little video that you can watch that gives you an overview from Gabby on what the experience is like. And you're able to see everything that you can get, a little bit of the bios, who your hosts are, and the whole month by month curriculum. 12 months. And here's what we teach you. And these are all of the lessons. So there's no guesswork. We have two pricing options. There's school core, it's sort of the essentials. And then if you want even more writing support for an extra amount, you can get more help from Gabby. She'll spend more time with you. And then we do have a guarantee, like after you've completed a 30-day streak, um, we're happy to refund you all the unused time. And then we got a bunch of FAQs and stuff. So we're very excited about this school. We think it's going to be fantastic for authors. Um, Now, if you're not just an author, if you are a indie author, you now have something written and you want to market it and you want to do cool things with it. We've created a second very special program. We've got this space called the Indie Author Marketing Mastermind. I love this. I love this space. I love hanging out with authors. Once a month, we gather together, all of the authors to swap notes, to collab together, to share ideas, to make progress, on how we go about marketing. Because here's the thing: if you're trying to market the way you're getting all of this advice online, a lot of times we really struggle with marketing because we're trying to follow somebody else's list of recommended things that works. And half of them will say, well, you need to be on TikTok and you got to be everywhere and you got to do everything. And for most of us, we're like, I can't. I've got a family. I have limited time. I can't pay for anything. So if you're somebody who's writing a book and you want to do more, uh, you know, and you want to be doing more with your marketing, that's what this is. You don't have to do it alone. We can share what works together. You can ask me questions at any point because I love marketing, and you're going to get a whole bunch of additional resources. Okay, let me drop this here. Hold on, I can actually make this wider. That's nice. Um, we've got a growing stack of resources that are available for those who enjoy marketing. So you can try this for a month and cancel if you want. You can make out like a bandit, get in here, grab a copy of everything, and then leave. If we get enough people coming in, we can also host workshops. That's going to be really fun. Look at this. We get a mini magazine template. You can get this Canva template and you can drop yourself in there. You can drop your book in there. You can update the description. Imagine that it's only 4 pages. You print it out. And if when you're at an event, instead of just giving somebody your business card, imagine giving them your author mini magazine. It just makes you look so much more legit and official. I have two authors who have downloaded this and have filled it in. It just looks awesome. And of course, if you're marketing your book on social media, you probably want book cover mockups. So I've actually just recently updated this. It is available on the blog if you go to hunt for it, but if you're inside this group, it's linked right there. It's so easy. You upload your cover. There's 150 different options. You just drop your book cover into it, and you download it in high quality, and you can share it and do whatever you want with it. And I hope that it helps you market your book. I've also written a book, which is everything that I think about marketing. You get that for free, and I hope that it is helpful to you. And if you're in this group, now this is coming up first time that I'm sharing this. I just finished laying this out this morning. If you're in this group, this monthly indie author marketing mastermind, you get first access to our Legend Haven, which is our annual online convention. And this year we're working on doing it twice. So we're going to come back in April. So this is our first time really talking about this. So if you're somebody who wants to be marketing your book, this con is not just a big fun event for readers, it's how I'm working with and collaborating with our authors. So if that interests you, drop a comment, say hi, or head on over to legendfiction.com and you can have a look at the marketing mastermind. So let me just check in and see where we're at. We're at 10:35. All right, got about 10 minutes before Gabby joins. Let's see. Um, trying to decide if I want to get into all of the news and stuff because there's so much to talk about in our final hour together. Questions. Let me think for a second. You know, we could probably recap the anthologies as well because we've got those going on all the time. So first of all, we not only have books, right? We create these books. So when you join and you write, we host contests, and then we get these and we create them and we put them online, um, and we publish them. It's a way for us to publish authors. So if you feel like you have no idea how to become a published author, well, here's one way. As soon as you join, I'll show you. It's actually live on our homepage. As soon as you join our community, you can jump into any one of these. Um, writing challenges, right? It's a short story, about 6,000 words. We've created very clear parameters of the kind of character we're looking for, the genres, the tropes, and so on, so that it provides a lot of clarity for your creativity so that you can just get writing. Some of these are going to be, for example, this one here, Banner Mark. We plan to give this one away for free to attendees at our online con. But then if we get enough, volume of stories, we'll also share them. Share this on, we're going to use a tool called PubShare, which means we offer royalty sharing. So every book that sells basically forever, it's going to kick back to you as an author and you get to make that income. So if that kind of thing interests you, you not only get to write, you also get to be a published author and you get royalties. And Legend Fiction doesn't take a cut out of those royalties so that we can send everything over to you. Um, we think that's pretty awesome. So if you're not yet a member of our community, come and have a look at our homepage. And as you can see, people love spending time with us. And of course, we've got our weekly live stream, which is where we're on right now. So I want to go back to getting into the news. What is the news? And I'm just going to let Gabby join when she does. So this over here. Okay, let's talk very briefly. What is the come back to here? No, let's go to here. Okay. Let me stop screen sharing for a minute so that I can begin to, present this news section. So News is for indie authors. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the news. You know, what's a better way? How can I pretend to be a news anchor? All right. Hi, indie fiction authors, and welcome to our news section of the Legend Fiction show. We're talking about a whole bunch of super fascinating stuff that I think is interesting for me as an indie author with no budget, little time, and you don't want to wait around for any permission to sell more books and find your readers. I've found a bunch of interesting headlines from this past week that I'm going to go through, and we'll have a guest author from the Legend Fiction community jump on. So if you've got any questions about anything at any point, say hi in the comments. I cannot wait to hear from you. And if you know or think of anything in terms of news or industry information that helps indie authors, please drop it in the comments and I would love to read it. Maybe tell you what I think and give you a shout out next time. So, first story that we're going to get into, it's a bit of a recap of some 2026 author trends. Now, I did do about an hour long video on this, but there's a couple of other little points in here that I thought was very helpful. And I went through and highlighted some of them. So I'll put a link to this in the description afterwards. But here's a little highlight. So, authors are building trust through brand, email, and community. So, if you're an indie author, these are things to like tuck into the back of your mind that are hopefully helpful. Readers are overwhelmed with options and increasingly drawn to authors who feel familiar, real, and present, not just visible. So, newsletters, personal essays, behind the scenes content, and community interaction will become increasingly important parts of how authors, especially if you're an indie author, how they can grow. So, if you're part of our indie author Marketing Mastermind, which is an upgrade inside of our Legend Fiction community, we spend a lot of time thinking about this, talking about this, trying to encourage each other, trying to collaborate with each other, and come up with excuses or ideas to make this easier for you. One of the ways that we do this is we invite members of our mastermind to come and hang out with us on our live stream platform. Our live stream, like right here, is share updates and participate in the con. Let me change this so it feels the thing better. Um, but if you're an indie author out there and you're trying to sell more books and find your readers, thinking about how to stay in touch with people. Oh, Gabby's with us. Hi, Gabby. Hold on, give
Hi.
me a second. I put my headphone in. Perfect
Microphone.
timing. I
Hello.
literally just started the news segment. Hold on. My whole thing is weird here. Here we go. All right, I need to figure out how to get both of us on screen now. There we go. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you. You sound great. We
Yay.
got yeah, I was just getting into some of the news section, so I might just start that again and sort of trim it a little bit.
Okay.
But how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, 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 good. Today was kind of fun. Tried something new. I did a bit of live editing for my banner mark story, and it's funny
Nice.
how long editing takes. Like,
I know. Uh,
so hopefully people got a little bit of something out of that. And then I read through two stories from the Quilldrake book, which was actually a little bit
yay.
surprising how fast it took to read through those.
Which ones did you
Um,
pick?
well, of course I read mine, and then I
Nice.
also did Karina Turner's, and then maybe next week I'll come back and read more.
Okay, nice. I don't think I read Karina's because I don't think the copy I got had it yet. So I'm gonna have to go back and read that one.
Right. Yeah, I think I just so you got one of the early drafts. Yeah, she
Yeah,
did
it
one
was like
about
a placeholder.
"Don't Pet the Dragons" or something like that. So it was
That
cute.
sounds like a very Karina Turner
No, it was
title.
great. She's like her signature kind of weird take on stuff,
I love
which is
that.
always fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, and then for our last kind of, how much time do you have with us? Because I'm going through till midday my time.
Oh, wow. Oh, midday your time. Still, that's a long time. I have to go at 9:10 my time,
Okay,
9:15,
so about a
which
half hour or
is
so.
yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Oh, and then lastly, I read another chapter from Guide to Unfairy Stories. So that then
Nice.
brings us up to I talked a little bit about the school, Mastermind. Oh, and I talked about the tournament as well. Um,
Yes.
how's it going for on your end with the tournament now that we're kind of into the new month? You're
So
part
much
of
fun.
the Writers of Rohan?
No, we are the competent kings, which
Ooh,
is
hold on.
do you want the long or the short version?
Yes. Give me the long version.
Okay, the long version is so we have stories live where we do critique group together, right?
Mhm.
And one of our members, Mary Rose Krieger, when she was reading her story, her character King Braun, there was a scene where like they were thrown out in the wilderness And the king, just without a hitch, was kind of like, I don't want to say taking orders from his scout or whatever, but the
Mhm.
scout was like, there's tools down there, and the scout was injured. And so the king was like, oh, okay. And he does exactly what the scout says. He goes, he gets the thing, he chops firewood, makes a fire, wraps up the kid and everything. And I was like, wow, this king is really competent. And just everybody exploded laughing because I was stunned. Most kings in stories can't be kings, much
Mm,
less do like actual day-to-day things. And
mm,
so that's the backstory. Then to the modern bit,
mhm.
the initial random came up with it in 10 seconds while hopped up on Rice Krispies, Cocoa Krispies,
Yeah,
was I was
you and
like,
your Cocoa Krispies, like,
yeah,
they're scary stuff.
I know. Um, but I was like, "Okay, I gotta think of something real quick just as, like, a placeholder." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Well, what about the Sandersons?" Because, like, Brandon Sanderson writes stuff this thick, like,
Yeah, yeah,
twice
yeah.
a year all the time or
Mhm.
whatever. So, that was a placeholder name. So then we went in our private chat and we started kinda, like, playing around with it, and I was like, "Okay, well, here another thing that's maybe sounds better, sounds less funny is the Kings, like Stephen King, who also writes something this thick
Oh, there you
twice a
go.
year."
Yep.
And because I said kings, then Mary Rose Krieger said we could do competent kings, and we all just loved that. So we are now the
Mhm.
competent kings.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
okay, so what's been the experience of the first couple of days messing around, as the competent kings? Like, how are you doing it? How are you making it work? What's the format? Um, because right now we're still figuring it out, so I'm sure your team is a little bit different to how another team might be handling it. So how are you guys making it work?
I actually asked other teams what they were doing because I was really hoping there was like a pot calculator, where like everybody could just throw in numbers
Mm,
and it would just add up over the thing. Well, nothing quick access. I'm sure something like that somewhere exists, but I'm not going to take the time to find it. So asked the other teams, "What are you doing? Are you just adding up?" And someone said a Google sheet. And I was like, genius, Google Sheet. So now we have a shared Google Sheet. I realized that even though I said everybody with the link can access it, I realized I didn't put everyone with the link can be an editor. So I have to go
ah,
back and fix that. But yeah, I've input my first 4 days. Yesterday was a bummer. I didn't get to do any writing, but that's okay. And yeah, so that's where we're going for now. We'll probably just kinda, like, check in with each other periodically, maybe if we have a good day, be like, "Hey, I hit 2,000, 3,000, whatever the case may be."
nice.
Um, so yeah, we're just kinda playing around with it, very low stress, which is nice.
Mhm. That's good. That's good. Did you create, like, a group chat so that you all
Yes.
can stay connected?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did.
Alright,
That's
that's
where we were
awesome.
debating about the competent kings.
I think that's awesome. I've been convinced for, like, 6, 7 months that creating little groups like this was going to be awesome
Mhm.
for our authors to feel connected and motivate each other.
And what's
Um,
really cool is that one of the members is one of the students for our school.
ah,
So we've got that going on, and it's just like it's so cool to see, like you said, all of us just kind of like interconnecting through the various groups that we have.
mhm, yeah. I think it's gonna be such a fun motivating sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I love the sense that somebody new can join and go like, "Hey, I wanna start a new group," and you just announce it, and then, um, either invite new people or, we can do, like, a new call for, like, new members, "Come and hey, look, we've got a list of new groups, you can either create your own or you
Oh
can
yeah.
join somebody else's."
Nice. So I have a question then based on
Yeah.
that. Can it be more? Is it 4 people only, or are you saying that you can add to like a 4-person group? Like it could be five.
I th Working theory right now is, a squad or a group is capped at
Okay, that makes sense.
4 people. Now, there's no rules against somebody being in more than one group, although that's probably not a good idea, actually, now to think about it. So you gotta be limited to one group, but anybody can start a group, and then, authors can join, and then after, like, maybe a month, then they can leave that group, and if they wanna go start their own because they just want new vibes or they wanna do it differently, or somebody new has joined who's, like, a real writer powerhouse, and so they need that person on their team, so they dissolve the team they're in and go start somebody else or something. So, yeah, it's our first month, and we'll figure it out, but hopefully there's a lot of
Excuse me
freedom for
for
people.
one quick second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We got a cool comment from looks like maybe Neil Malik. He said he read Malazan before Mistborn, his second fantasy book after Lord of the Rings. Have you read Malazan? I haven't read that one.
I have not even heard of Malazan. Is
No.
that also
Yeah,
Brandon Sanderson?
I have no idea. Sa
I've read Mistborn, the first book by Brandon
mhm.
Sanderson, and then I read Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which was like it was like if Studio Ghibli and T. Kingfisher collaborated to make a like the child of Star Wars and Freaky Friday. That's the best way I can explain
Wow. I need to think about that for a second.
it.
That's fun. I actually saw a headline just this morning about, oh gosh, was it Apple is moving forward with Mistborn, and it's gonna be high budget and all of
Mm,
this and amazing stuff, but Sanderson is very excited to work with them, and he is now spending the next, I think it's 2 to 3 months working only on a screenplay for Mistborn. So
good.
the author, with his massive diehard fandoms, is now coming in to create his own screenplay
I'm so excited.
based on his book. I wanna see where this goes
I
because that's gonna be
know.
awesome.
That was one of my favorite books of last year, and what was so funny was I put my editor told me, "You should really read this book," and I was like, "Okay," and then kinda let it gather dust on my shelf for a bit, and then
Mhm.
finally last year, because I have crazy ideas, I was like, "You know, I'm trying to finish 100 books this year, why not put Mistborn on that list?" So I
Mm.
did, and I finally listened to Mistborn, and I was floored. I was crying by the end, and I
Oh,
don't
really?
cry super easily. Like, it's not it I'm not most books can't get me to cry. It's not impossible, but you have to do something right to get me to cry at the
Mm,
end of the book, and holy moly.
goodness. Wow. I think it's been easy, maybe 8 or 8 years perhaps since I've read it.
Oh, really?
I don't
Have you
yeah,
read the
I
other
don't remember
books?
it that well. I think I read the 2nd one, but I haven't yet gone on to continue reading the others because then I got into his Way of Kings, or
How do you like
the
that?
bigger series. I did. I think I read the 1st and 2nd one. I haven't read
Okay.
the last ones.
I think the latest one just came out this past year. It was like Wind and something, Wind and Flame, Wind and Fire,
I don't
Wind
know.
and Truth.
I need to get more caught up on that. I just need to
1,344 pages. Hence why I came
yeah,
up with the
that's where
idea of the
I need to start
Sandersons.
bilocating. I need a second life. Start going through this stuff.
Exactly.
So, all right, let's get into some of the news and I'll just, clip this stuff around, but I found some stuff that I thought was very cool for indie authors. And so, a little update that I haven't yet shared with you about sort of the YouTube channel, but I changed it around the description and the focus and so on for the channel instead of being about like, oh, we're the coolest community, which we are, but I focus more on indie authors, indie fiction authors, and the
Nice.
fact that we're here to help build writing habits, but also
Mhm.
share what's working and what doesn't so that we can sell more books and grow our readers, which is technically the whole point of what we're trying to do with, Legend Fiction and our marketing mastermind and Legend Haven and all that cool stuff. And so the angle on the news, and so if you see cool stuff across the week, Gabby, send it over and we
I
might
will.
talk about it. But what are things that help indie fiction authors, especially those who don't have a big budget, um, don't want to wait for permission, and just don't want any limits on what they're trying to do. And they don't want to be necessarily dancing on TikTok. Now, you're probably better at that than I am. I don't think I could swing it. There are some authors who definitely don't want to do it ever at all. So, what works for them? And the cool thing is that's what we're going to get into some of this news. The cool thing is that it seems the market is shifting in favor of a lot more indie authors and success for indie authors. And so I found a couple of cool stuff to highlight. So we're just going to get into that. So this was a second. Here's a second 2026 author trends you need to know came out last week, and I did a big long version of that on the channel. For last time, so I won't go over to that, but I won't go over that in too much depth. But I just wanted to go through a couple of quick highlights, and I'll include a link in the description for those who want to go and read through this more deeply. So the first thing that they had to say was authors build trust through brand, email, and community. Um, the super nice thing about all of this is that most of these tools are free and they also can work really excellently. And you're no longer doing it totally by yourself on your own little website on an island. You can actually now join like a continent. So tools like Substack, for example, are awesome with this.
Love
Algorithms are
Substack.
now updating to better surface individual creators. Um, People are looking for more authentic, real connections with real people, especially as there are not just like tons of AI platforms and a lot of slop being shipped but there's also a lot of manipulative, stupid stuff being done by just people as well. And we don't want to see or follow that. Um, so platforms recognize that and they're always trying to surface, they're using the algorithms to find stuff that's authentic and that's real. And so then the question is, what do you do with that attention once you've created it? Well, you build trust. How do you build trust? You do stuff like newsletters, personal essays, behind the scenes content, community interaction. This is becoming increasingly important for the author platform. So there you go. Consistency, voice, and personal connection are the trust signals that matter now. Technically, they always mattered, but I
Mhm.
think you could get away with it all because in the past you didn't have to do as much of this because I think there wasn't as much competition for your time and attention. Now it's a 24/7 dopamine rush. It's like Candy Crush constantly as soon as you open your eyes all day long. Which is awful for authors, and it's nuts for readers, and I think a lot of us, we're doing stuff like dumb phones, right? And we're going for, trying to take walks where you leave your phone at home, which is a
Mhm.
terrifying thought. Um, and we also want to see authors are genuine, real people.
Mhm.
And that's one of the big reasons why for this channel, we're going like, okay, we'll talk a little bit more about AI and stuff on today's, news show, but showing up and trying to be real about what we're doing and the fact that we're real humans and that, yes, you can't trust anything online. Triangulate your truth, people. Get multiple little sources to fact check stuff, but you can also build confidence following real people because you know where they come from. Um, so that's something that we're field testing, with Legend Fiction and trying to make it easier by showing other authors, here's how you can do it too.
Exactly.
Um, and you're on this platform and you're doing this kind of thing too. Any off the wall thoughts about this? Uh, off this first point on trust.
Not the trust part, just that I can absolutely agree. Like I've seen with the newsletters, and I don't do personal essays myself, but I've seen other authors do it,
Mhm.
like big authors, behind the scenes content. I had a couple of no, I'm sorry, not two, one person. It was a similar conversation, but it wasn't exactly an overlap. One author that I know who was like, even the professional books have a typo in them. It proves that you're not AI. It's, like, authentic, and I think that's what people are searching for. And yeah, so pretty much I agree.
Cool. Um, I think what will also continue to happen, so transparency becoming a trust signal is what we'll
Mhm,
get to, but this sense of creating additional content outside of your book, this is going to continue to be valuable. So they say personal essays, but I could say stuff like, thought pieces
mhm,
or blog content that goes like around your book and that explores your interests and things that you think. If you compare an author who does that, even minimally, compared to an author who does not do it at all
mhm,
and writes a book and then just has it, trad published or even if they indie publish, but then they say and do nothing else and their website is a graveyard except for like, you know, list of their books on it or they got the one book on it and there's no blog. There's nothing else to know or meet them as a person.
mhm.
And then they put out another book and then they try to, hype that up. First of all, it's going to be so much harder compared to an author who's already got something, anything blog post of the month, blog post of the week. They run a little YouTube channel. They read stories out loud. They talk about what they think and their interests that go into the books that they create.
Mhm,
If you're somebody who is on social or you're online and you're trying to evaluate who do I follow, uh, the thing that's alive and that's constantly moving is probably going to attract your attention a lot more frequently.
exactly.
And you might trust it a lot more because you know the person more because they said more
Mhm,
compared to the author who says nothing beyond just buy my book, right? So that's just that's an opportunity for authors who can play around with algorithms, who can play around with creating content, why it can be helpful. Now the question then is what how do you show up consistently and what do you do? Not just when you have something to sell.
mhm.
All right. Excuse me, human transparency becoming a trust signal. I think there's a massive positive thing that comes from all of this AI stuff. Readers increasingly assume AI involvement unless told otherwise. This isn't a fringe belief, it's becoming a default mindset for better or for worse. And interestingly, the solution isn't necessarily zero AI, it is maybe clarity. We're going to see a lot more algorithms that are going to automatically downplay stuff that is just, like factory industry shipped when it comes to AI. But I think it's pretty unavoidable that we're going to see more authors amplified or augmented by AI in different ways. And in some places, you'll need to be more transparent than others about how much its influence has been on your work. But it's something that we're going to look for. I think the more important point is the more people, how do I say? Well, it's like from the day that AI landed, creators became luxury things
Mhm.
in the market because when everybody can now do dumb stuff or even maybe good stuff, and I'm not going to disparage AI because it can be awesome for those who would never have an ability otherwise to share or say something. But the instant that everybody gets access to something, it's everybody who can outperform and do really well and deliver at a level of excellence. They already were kind of luxury assets for our culture. Now they become even more because they're able to deliver on a level of excellence and clarity and actual creativity. And they're the best people to be able to use these tools well to perform even better than they were before. Um, Yeah. So especially like Instagram or social or Kindle, right? These kind of places, they're flooded with a lot of AI stuff that
Mhm.
some of it is done well, a lot of it is done badly, and they're going to continue to downplay the bad stuff so to allow the good stuff. So any thoughts leap out at you on that one?
You hit the nail on the head.
I'm just a genius that way, and that's totally fine. Okay. I thought this highlight was pretty cool with the mass market adoption of AI. Authors will experience not only more scams, but also more companies that quickly start up and then crash
Mhm.
just as fast. This has been an issue for everybody everywhere anyway, but especially for authors. If you're like, oh, look, here's a brand new book writing software, or here's a new AI powered thingy, um, watch it carefully, maybe sit on it for a few months before trusting a
Mhm.
whole new book to it because it doesn't take very long before things disappear. Authors will need to be even more vigilant and more reliant on established, well meaning stalwarts of the industry. So, yeah, whisper networks of green list vendors and red flag scams. It's going to be very helpful. So if you're part of the legend fiction community, we often talk about and share tools and share experiences, and you can ask each other in there, what are tools that you have used? If you're someone like me, I follow a website called Product Hunt, where new tools are shipped almost daily. It's like a Twitter feed of new tools that are announced that do all kinds of things. And maybe a year later, you come back and like, "Ooh, that looks really cool," and you go to visit it, and it's like, "Yeah, this project is sunset. It's no longer a thing," or it was bought out and shut down, or it was bought out and merged and expanded with a whole 'nother thing. So tech moves really quickly, but there are going to be an ongoing, a whole lot of scams. There are websites that will try to take your stories and then rip them off you or skim, try to take a portion of your sales and stuff like that. So just be careful about what you're doing. Think it through. Have you had any experiences along these lines or seen anything that gave you pause or annoyed you?
Yeah, I mean, I often just get like messages from Instagram scammers who are just saying things. I've had some a scam so bad that there wasn't even a subject line in the email, and it said something about my book that was like very blatantly AI written, but like in the greeting, I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was like something like "Hi author" or "Hi
Yeah.
insert name here," or it was bad.
Mhm.
Some are very much better than that. In fact, there was one who I couldn't tell if she was a scammer. Like, she I didn't wind up going with her just out of many reasons. One is, like, I couldn't tell, but when she was talking to me, she seemed very, like, sincere and very kind of cordial, very affable kind of a thing. So and again, maybe she was legitimate, I don't know, I didn't take the time to investigate. So
Mhm.
just kind of I would just say just err on the side of
Mhm.
caution, you know, when there's somebody Google them, see if they
Mhm.
have a website, see if they have a Facebook page, you know, just make sure that
Yeah.
they are actually because someone who is not scamming you will take the time and effort and sometimes money to establish a presence of themselves
Mhm.
online,
Mhm.
and one that does not look like it's gonna give you a virus the minute you click on it. Um,
Yeah. Right.
s so just be cautious, double check everything, and honestly, I would say do your best to kinda go with ones that seem very well established. Obviously, of course, there are going to be people who are genuine, who are just starting up, but even they need to look established. They need to seem
Mhm.
established, kind of a thing.
Agreed. Agreed. It's funny, I got an email, was it this past week? Someone, it seemed spam and it was generated, but the person was like, "Oh, your book is, we've been reading it with our book study group, and you've got such great insights. We want to invite you for an interview or something." And I thought, "Oh, nobody's read my book. I haven't sold a single copy of this book. What are you talking about? Liars." All right. Talking about AI, it's going to be an ongoing issue. So communities are splintering around AI norms. There's a lot we need to figure out with all of this, but as the use expands, author communities are increasingly sorting into value-based camps. Some are banning discussion entirely. Others allow it but require disclosure, and in some communities, even curiosity can trigger backlash. It does create a chilling effect. Authors who might explore the topic quietly avoid it to protect their social standing. Um, when I see this, I rankle at it because I don't like anybody telling me what to do, especially when it comes to tools or when it comes to um, something that I think is okay or good. So this is one reason, major reason, why in Legend Fiction, we decided to take a stance that we're going to be more than just merely neutral, because too often that can still err on the side of those who actively dislike it
Mhm.
will continue to browbeat others against it. We're going to try to find a way to be for it or for a way to use it well. So we're either going to try to show people how to use it well, we're going to try to model that, which means I have to myself personally understand it and find a way to use it well, find out what are the edges where it can go wrong and I can get burned out, and then how do keep my soul but still be able to create. So I want to have positive conversations around this. Not everybody does, not everybody likes it in the community, but they stick around and they stay anyway. It's learning to practice that tolerance within our specific community. We've got sort of the rule, which is use AI, mess around with it, understand how it works. Just don't use it to completely write the story or the novel that you're actually doing. Because the point of this community is for us to show up and learn the skills of writing yourself. It's like if
Mhm.
you're coming to an ice pick contest, bring an ice pick and let's learn to carve. Don't bring a chainsaw. You can use a chainsaw, go to a chainsaw contest. In our community, bring an ice pick, learn to carve by using an ice pick. That's the whole point of what we do. So, um, and we want to teach authors or teach people or show them that it can be insanely helpful and fun. This is one major reason why we have created I'll just pull it up really quickly. We've got a generative AI page on our website where we've got a bunch of art that we give away. We have shared tutorials and resources on how to think about it, how to use it so that it's helpful. And we have created a bunch of AI tools. At some point, Gabby, you need to come back and share these 3 new tools, and I need to just think this through.
Ooh.
I forgot about this novel cast creator. I need to do a walkthrough on that. Maybe next
Okay.
week I'll come back and think about that because this is actually pretty amazing. So we're helping authors to get writing, and AI can be a tool that can help you do that. You don't have to, but for those who are open, this can be extremely helpful. So it's going to continue being a thing. Any knee jerk thoughts or anything off the cuff you want to share on that?
Just that it seems like currently people seem to think that the AI debate is so like black and white. Like either you're for it or you're against it. And I'm like, there is way more nuance to it than that. Like
Mhm,
the example I always use, is it a perfect analogy? No, but it's something to get like you thinking, is that Grammarly is
mhm,
AI.
mhm,
When you could be learning to do the grammar rules yourself,
mhm,
or you could be paying someone to check your grammar rules,
mhm,
you are using Grammarly.
mhm.
It's AI. It's
Right.
a similar thing. Now, is it the same thing? I'd say no, because there's a whole lot less actual content, numerically speaking, than you writing a novel by yourself. But that alone just tells me that there's more to this conversation than just either you use generative AI and you're lazy and a thief, or you don't and you're neither of those things. I'm like, and here's the thing, I personally don't use AI. Like
Mhm,
very few things. Sometimes I'll generate like summaries or YouTube descriptions off of Google Gemini just because I don't have time for that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
But I could be learning to do it myself, or I could be paying a copywriter. So
Mhm,
there's more to it than just good bad.
mhm. Agreed. And so that's I think it's important to create a space where at the very least, we won't rip into each other, we won't
Mhm.
savage each other around how to have this conversation. Um, and I think that's one of the things I like about our community. We've got this core rule of kindness. And so we've gone on to create our online con, right? Which is the friendliest fiction con. Now, I never heard of this word before, and so I won't take too long, but if anybody knows more about this than I do, comment, tell us more if you have good experiences with readaways. So, a readaway, it's a recent travel trend, apparently from Verbo's 2026 travel report. Basically, book lovers are going on book vacation
Oh.
specifically for reading, unwinding, and connecting over books, specifically in, or like in cozy cabins or quiet settings, a shift from typical busy vacations to restful screen-free retreats. Has anybody been on one of these? Because I've never heard of this, and it sounds amazing.
I have a friend who has like she does like a I almost called it a bed and breakfast, an Airbnb. Uh
Mhm.
And she's like, "You should come down." And I'm like, "I know I should, because it's in the mountains, and it would just be a cabin and me and a few books and my laptop, and I could just read and write for, like, a weekend straight." Well, not a weekend straight because I would wanna go to mass, but, I could pick some days
Yeah.
and just nobody's there. That
Mhm.
sounds so amazing.
I mean, to do that with a group of friends, like, I just love that idea. So there you go. Readaway, there's a whole thing. It's a bit like a reading retreat.
That's funny because I
Um,
thought when you said read away, I first thought of giveaway, and
hmm,
I was like, "How do you do that?" But read literally away,
yeah,
away
away
from
from
your home.
everybody. Yeah. Uh,
Yes.
I'm interested also see, this is again, in terms of indie authors, this is our big focus is, uh, what are other ways that indie authors can make income? So I'm really interested, like, if you've got a book, you basically created one product. How many times can you sell that book? Well, it depends on how far into the market you can grow. But for some authors, maybe you've got a little bit of a following already. Another question, then start asking yourself if you've got the charism or the gifts or the interest for it, what are other things you can do to create additional income for yourself? Well, heck, what if you hosted your own readaway? What if you did one of those things where you like do a group rent of a lovely big Airbnb mansion or something, and 10 other people all come and hang out, and I don't know, you host a readaway thing, or 10 people all get their own Airbnbs, don't have to deal with all that stuff. Don't share bathrooms and stuff. And you're all gonna get together at a local cool location or a library maybe, and you're all gonna host a readaway or host an event or an experience in a local area. And Airbnb has this as it's called an experience. So what happens if authors were to host experiences around the books that they create? Or it's a way to hang out with the author and have dinner together? I think that's a very interesting idea, which actually comes into this next point. Authors are shifting from performers to hosts. It's not about having a big personality. Um, how can you find a way to be present with other human beings? So authors are finding the most effective reader gatherings don't require big production. There's a reason to come together and then the chance to be seen and heard by a human being. And for us to see each other and chat with each other as human beings. So maybe it's a Zoom call, it could be a Google Meet call where you've got your own private community that maybe you people pay access to. There's a group chat, maybe you host a theme. You know what I remember when I spent a year in a British boarding school in France, and there was one day where the headmaster had a private dinner. This is something British people do in schools. It showed up in actually one of the Harry Potter movies, one of the later ones. I don't quite
Oh,
remember which.
yeah, with Slughorn.
I think so, where they're all invited to dinner with the teacher,
Yeah.
right,
What
in his
book is
private
that?
apartment.
Half-Blood Prince.
Okay, good for you. I was invited to one of those with the headmaster. A couple of teachers were there, a couple of other hand-picked students, and the theme of the evening was mythology. That was it. And so the headmaster brought out all of the books that he had on mythology, put them on the table, and we all spent like easily 2 to 3 hours, I think it was. We had dinner, and then there was like coffee, and it was at the end of a school day, and we all felt, as kids, we all felt very, important and seen and stuff like that. And, we all just talked to everything about mythology, and it was just very fun. So authors can do this exact same sort of thing. Authors can create consistent low pressure spaces. There's a chance that readers will show up, and stick around, especially if they loved your book. They might love spending a little extra time with you.
Mhm.
So, yeah, what do you think about that? Anything come to your mind about that?
Just a mentor of mine, Corinne O'Flynn, she says very much the same thing. The example that she used, which I think she said she learned from her mentor, is you as an author, and she was speaking specifically in reference to newsletters at the time, but it applies to just your kind of presence as an author. You are sitting on your front porch and you have your friends around you, your friends who like your books and
Mhm,
who is presumably like you a little bit because they're signed up for your newsletter or whatever. And you're talking to them individually as friends. And then if you see people passing on the street, you're like, come, you can be like, come on, come join us on the porch. We're having a
that's so
great
cool.
time here.
Yeah.
And that has really changed my mindset, particularly even with just the way that I phrase my newsletters, because I used to be kind of like a YouTube kind of, hey guys, it's Gabriella from the, that kind of a thing where I'm just kind of like speaking abroad. But
Mhm,
now I actually start my things like, "Hi, you," like you specifically, whoever you are. Now, of course, I am mass sending it, but then
right.
I talk about my a little bit about my life as if I'm actually talking to you, and I talk about my books as if I were talking, well, because I am, not as if, I am talking to a friend or at least someone
Mhm,
who is interested in this conversation with me. And
mhm.
I think that's just a really great way to, again, connect with people because like I can even on YouTube, obviously, I don't know, but I'm judging on YouTube, like, whether this person seems really genuine and affable and friendly, like someone I might actually want to have a conversation with, or whether they're just speaking to the camera to the masses.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed. It's always a fun thing, especially if you're wanting to grow friendships in a long way, um, over the long term, is to come up with it for a name that tries to capture the identity of the kind of people who are hanging out with you. So in legend fiction, we have to, of course, we call each other legends. So I'll try to often start a message by saying "Hi, friends," or more often "Hi, legends," or "Look at these awesome legends doing this stuff." Um, uh, Even just saying "friends," like
Mhm.
"Hello, hi, friend," or um, like Fire Nation, for example. I think that's a whole thing out there. Like, hey, Fire
Is it?
Nation, you're also creating a little bit of a shared identity around,
Mhm.
what would you like if you were to do something? Would you call them changelings or
Probably. That was the first thing that came to mind, but I probably would need to, like, think about it a little.
yeah, yeah, edge lords? Um, all right.
Before
So
we move on,
go
I
ahead.
actually regrettably have to go,
Oh, that's fine.
because I got
Thanks for
another
jumping on.
appointment. So, yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm just going to keep going through some of this other cool stuff. All right. Have an
Alright,
awesome
sounds
rest of your
good.
day.
Talk
Cheers,
later.
Gabby.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty, let's continue. I've got a couple of other highlights that we can maybe go through, and then we got a bunch of other news items to get through as well. So let's see. A lot of these things, I think, pretty normal stuff. That this I thought was pretty interesting. There is so much more content right now. More content drives more competition. So it's not just about AI. It's the fact that there are more people who are creating content for the market, more people who are writing books, writing short stories. So Uh, it's like when there's a whole ton of blah, we're now starting to look for excellence. We're now starting to look for things that are that are better, that catch our attention. I don't know if you're like this. I walked through Barnes and Noble, I think, this past week, and there's a not that everything looks the same, but there's a lot of it that certainly feels like it is the same. Like the oh gosh, the bookshelves, right? They're cram packed with an infinity of worlds, and so I'm now looking for additional cues that indicate this is really good, or people really like this, or this even more matches my particular interest. So we want and we need excellence, because the cues for excellence help something to stand out, has a greater chance for people to want to buy it. So the market stops rewarding just good enough. If you, I think what makes sense in my mind for this, if you remember, gosh, what was it like? Pocketbooks, I think they were called. I remember walking through like a standard bookstore, and the shelves would be choked with these cheap books that were really quickly put out, like cheap fantasy or cheap thrillers or cheap romance, right? And they're not really meant to be incredible. They're not meant to be like audience builders and brand builders. They're just authors just putting out, you know, predictable, formulaic, fun stuff that just people loved. But as soon as you read it, you throw it in the trash afterwards. It just doesn't really care. Now we've got a ton more authors getting access to the market, especially if you're an indie author. People are looking for excellence, right? There's somewhere, yes, we're still looking for stuff just to read and just to have fun and just to get through. But we are also looking for books that do stand out emotionally, creatively, and visually. Um, so what does that mean? I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. If you got any ideas about what that means, and it's also, of course, we're talking about AI is lowering or improving barriers to production, making it easier for people to create things like better covers, or indie authors can hire people to create better covers. It's easier to now edit through something or to hire somebody to do something, easier to create the right metadata or to test that to get things online so that you can start finding your readers more. Or you can hire somebody who's like a coach or a specialist or buy access to the right tool that's going to help you do it. Um, so that then means there's now a lot more noise, and in there is, of course, there's a lot more slop, and there's a lot more bad faith actors who are just doing anything to strip mine attention, um, which of course doesn't help anybody. Um, so as it says, the noise rises, discover becomes harder. Marketing, learning how to market well, or finding a couple of things that make it better. And there's a little new update from Amazon, which I will get to in the future, about also that may help with this. But there are a couple of basic things that I think we can do, such as owning and defining our audience. So I do think these are pretty good recommendations. Define who your book is for and why it matters. This is also going to help what's being called the rise of GEO, which is generative engine optimization or something, where Google is now run on AI and has for probably a decade. Social is being, powered by AI to help connect you to the right thing, and that's a good thing because what something like AI can do is like very quickly, it can go through your entire novel, it can go through your entire video or your project, and it can understand what it is because a lot of people create rubbish and then market it really well, and it's not helpful to anybody. So there is a benefit to AI, for example, understanding what your book is, understanding who it's for, seeing who has actually liked it so that when you go, these are my interests. I now want to find books that are in my interests. AI is something that will not just take anybody's word for it. It can actually go and study these books and pay attention to the tone and the style and the audience match so that it can then present it to you. Because what's the goal of any platform like Amazon or whatever? They want your money. They want to make sure that they can make a sale. And so if they can give you the right things that are going to help with that sale, then that's a win for them. So there will be a point, where we have to deal with the fact that we're dealing with slop, and then they have to come back in and tweak it and adjust the algorithm and fix it and improve it. So the worst case scenario for any social platform is that people get so tired or so bored or mad that the platform isn't helpful. And so we're seeing things improve, and these are games that we're playing. They're being improved in real time. Well, if you're an indie author, there are some basic things that are probably never going to go away, which is who are you? What is your contribution to the world? What are topics that interest you? Who is your book for? Who is the particular kind of person? And maybe what stage of life or what experience of life does this book help them to enjoy or get through? And then let's state that. Put that in your description. Get on an interview or interview yourself on YouTube and talk about it. Um, if you're not stating that, everybody's going to have a harder time being able to connect your book with the right audience. So you can stand out through identity, voice, and human credibility. Um, and that's a whole nother conversation about how to do that. I want to keep exploring how to do that. It's what we do in our mastermind. And I'm just going to show you this very briefly because this whole side, a lot of our news and what we do connects around our indie author marketing mastermind. It's a private group that you get access to, or you can if you want, inside Legend Fiction, where we gather every month and we talk about what's working, what doesn't work, what did we hate, what do we never want to do again, what do we absolutely want to see more of. And so all of these things in the news area that I'm reading, we're all testing and thinking about. Okay, let me see if there's anything else that I highlighted in this. Oh, discovery. So discovery is getting harder. So strategy has to get smarter. There are more books being published all the time. Discovery is now becoming one of the hardest parts of the author business. There's more books, more formats, more ads, and there is more AI produced content. That means readers are overwhelmed and authors must work harder to stand out. Going it alone is tough. So finding friends or groups or collaborative partnerships, tapping into existing groups or existing networks, these kinds of things are going to be very helpful. Now, I think a lot of authors are, how do you say, a lot of authors are probably introverts. And so it doesn't come naturally to want to connect with people, or outreach or cold pitch or cold email. So if that's you, please let me know. Say hi, because these are things that I'm trying to solve. I am a bit of an introvert. There's moments where I can be a really, extroverted kind of thing. But finding ways to make it easy for authors, indie authors, to market themselves, to grow your readership, sell more books, find the right kinds of readers. With all of this going on, right, discovery is getting harder. So, what are things we can do that are basically free and that are easy? So, there are some things to do, like owning your own channels, building friends. You can, if you have the income, you can do things like paid ads. Um, Maybe you can go back and republish your book if it's an older one. Let's get a fresh cover on it because the story, for example, might be excellent. Maybe you self-published it in the past and you're locked down or being held back by the fact that the design of the thing isn't very good. So maybe you can splurge a little bit and hire a nice cover designer, something like that. Um, let's see. Is there anything else in this one here? Sovereignty, which is good. Oh, this I thought was cool. Authors are growing beyond the book. Um, we're authors. What do we want to do? We want to write a book. And as soon as we're done writing a book, we did it. And now we're done and we can go write another book. But this is now something that's becoming more and more interesting. And this is going to show up in another one of the articles that I've got here, which is indie authors are becoming more and more influential in the market. So, being able to think about your book in multiple ways, or being open to it, or perhaps collaborating with somebody who helps to do that sort of thing is becoming more interesting. So, collaboration is accelerating a shift where the book is central, but it's no longer the limit. So, for having things like shared universes, co authored series, anthology style worlds, it allows authors to scale creatively and then to cross pollinate audiences. So, Alexa Big Wharf of the Women in Publishing Summit points to this momentum. She says, I believe the move towards collaboration among authors, such as co authored series and books, will continue to rise. Here's where this can be super fun and interesting and maybe cool. If you've got a novel that you've created, um, this is something I am personally kind of testing inside Legend Fiction as well. If you've got a cool idea for a world that you have written a novel in, well, what if you have a group of other authors? What if you create a spin-off of like fan fiction anthology, right? Or a spin-off anthology of fan fiction? There's still your world, which is canon. And then you can go to these other authors and go, what if each of you wrote a short story set in my world? And then we collaborate around an anthology that we all publish together. Right? That's one idea. Or here's the idea that I did, where I had a concept world that I wanted to write a novel in. So what I did was I went to the Legend Fiction community and invited them. What if you all, oh, where is it? I've got a copy here. It's all the way in the back. What if you all wrote stories based in this world? Here's the rules of the world. Here's the context. Have fun creating these worlds. So all of a sudden, now the world that I'm dreaming about, wanting to write one day, I've now created an entire anthology of other authors playing with this same world and now expanding it. In fact, they had so much fun, they want to come back and now do a second one, which I need to try to schedule up. So this is one way, either for fan fiction, and then of course, if you're maintaining creative control, you can sort of read it and let them know, no, this doesn't fit the world, this isn't canon. Or there's another way where, if let's say you've got a novel that's like this, you collaborate with other authors to create stories that are similar. This is still just merely on the story side of things. Collaboration with shared universes, perhaps even allowing other people to come create their own stories or their own series or additional novels inside your world. That can be not only incredibly fun, but it's a completely new way for authors to think about marketing their books by having fun or doing things with other authors. What that means for creative control, obviously, and the relationships that you have with these other authors, it's all stuff to be navigated and figured out. But I think it creates a you're no longer just again stuck with the book. Yes, the book is central, but it's a starting point for being able to do lots of new things. I'm fascinated by this. If you got thoughts or questions, please drop it in the comment. Tell me what you think. All right, so there's final thoughts. I'll drop a link to this in the description afterwards. You can check it out. Let's have a look here. I found this very interesting update. So again, we're talking about indie authors. More power to indie authors. Bookshop.org and Draft Digital are partnering up. So self-published ebooks can now be made available to support these individual bookstores. So I've got a couple of highlights that I thought were very interesting. It's a watershed moment for independent bookstores, says Andy Hunter, founder and CEO of bookshop.org. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay. Our mission has always been to help local bookstores thrive in the digital age. Partnering with Draft to Digital means self published authors, an essential and rapidly growing part of the publishing landscape, can now work with indie bookstores and they can support each other. Today, self published titles frequently climb bestseller lists, attract film and streaming deals. Just look at Silo, I think, or Alchemized, and they can cultivate millions of devoted readers. A new generation of readers are actively seeking diverse and undiscovered voices, fresh storytelling, and the next great gem outside of mainstream publishing houses. Isn't that encouraging? This is why indie fiction author stuff is absolutely fascinating to me. So definitely gone are the days are of the self-publishing stigma. Indie authors have proven themselves to be talented writers, savvy marketers, and astute business people. All right, let me scroll down a bit more. Indie authors publish high quality books that stand shoulder to shoulder with traditionally published works, says Chris Austin, CEO of Draft to Digital. Readers don't care whose logo is on the spine, they care about a great read. All the major ebook retailers carry indie titles because they sell. I think that is incredibly encouraging for indie authors to think about. So I'll drop a link to this one in the description. You can have a look through that as well, and hopefully you'll find that just as interesting and helpful. Okay. Let's have a look at this one here. We've got on Oceanside Writing. Now this was written towards the end of 2025, but there was an interesting thought in here that I thought was cool and I wanted to share with you. And that was down here. Books are no longer just books. They're content engines. So this is expanding on the thought from previously. Film or TV, podcasts, merchandise, serial spin-offs. Thoughtful authors are considering rights strategy from day one. In 2025, publishers and agents will continue prioritizing authors who are willing to think IP first. So here's my understanding on this. I remember reading a book that was called Coffee Break Screenwriter. And one of the first chapters that I think the author encourages you to think about or realize is that you're not just creating a story, you're creating a story arena. Because if you're trying to create a TV series or a show for Netflix or whatever, um, if something is successful, they want, the producers, whatever, will want to keep coming back to this world. They'll want to keep spending time telling stories in it. So it's one thing to just create a single story, single world, a single novel, single movie. If you're trying to continue to have access to making sales to the market to continue showing up, then doing something like a series, like a TV show, for example, or multiple sequels, or maybe you're doing instead of multiple novels like Brandon Sanderson, who's absolutely brilliant, and they're massive. Maybe you're doing novellas, a bit more like the Scottish author who writes The Witches of Scotland, and I think he's got novellas that he crafts and he keeps putting out. They don't feel like full on novels. They might be 50, 60,000 words. You breeze through them really quickly. But what he's done is he's able to keep putting them out and you burn through them really quickly and then he can rebundle them. But what he's done is he's created, I think, a story arena, which is what Coffee Break Screenwriter is recommending. You're creating a context or like a world in which lots of different kinds of stories can happen. And you've created a significantly interesting enough world where people will want to come back to it over and over again from different points of view, right? Just look, for example, look at Game of Thrones, right? Look, how many spin-offs have they had with Game of Thrones? I don't know, but look at The Witcher. There's now the animated series, they've got the spin-off series, and you can argue whether they're good enough, or interesting enough or not. The point is, it's an arena within which multiple stories can be told, and producers are willing to put a bunch of money into doing things over and over and over again, testing new stories over and over again. So if you're creating a world, now I know as indie authors, it's kind of maybe scary to think about. Well, what do you mean start an IP or a story arena? Um, if something starts to be popular, successful, um, maybe this is just the way that I think. I don't think of locking a story down to being like, it's got to be this novel. I don't want to think about anything else. Well, it's like think of Harry Potter, for example. I think it's like a missed opportunity for them to be rebooting the entire series. I wish that they had gone the route of, like they say, IP first. What is the intellectual property? What is the world that she's created? I wish that they'd gone and created a whole new series in Ilvermorny, right? Over here in the United States or something, like they did with Fantastic Beasts. Or if they'd gone to do the school in Russia, or if they'd done that other school where all the girls look like ballerinas. I don't remember. I'm not good enough on my Harry Potter lore. Um, there's so much more of a world. Like I'm stoked that they're now doing, I think, another series, and I'm pretty sure Henry Cavill was signed on to be one of the founders of Hogwarts. Like that's going to be such a cool thing. But look at the fact they've got not just the Hogwarts stories and then the movies, they've also got the games. They've got this is IP now being translated into multiple different things because the world is so compelling and possible for so many new stories to be told in it. So that's I thought that was pretty interesting moving forward. So it's so strong logline, clear genre designation, tone comparisons, potential series path. Um, if you're the kind of person who is building a world that is fascinating and you want to spend a lot of time in it, um, imagine what might happen if you think more broadly, or what could be possible. Could this turn into a game? Could this turn into a movie series? Um, Maybe start having fun with those conversations. It'll open you up as something starts to be successful. Maybe you're more open to have more of those kinds of conversations. Okay, a little update here from Kindle. I thought this was interesting to know about. It landed just in December, so it's about a month ago. Ebook pre-orders will now show a reading sample on Amazon. I thought that's going to be pretty helpful. It just seems like what a good idea. Why wouldn't you? So if you've got an ebook that's uploaded, people will be able to preview the sample of your book. I think that's going to be excellent. There's books that I'm pre-ordering or waiting for, and then like would be really nice to be able to read the first few chapters of the thing. So, little update if you haven't tested that or seen that, until we can learn to totally get away from it, or until it learns to get better, or just we learn to deal with the fact KDP is what it is, this is going to be an update. This is going to hopefully be an improvement. So that's a little thing. And then this one I thought was also very helpful. Tell me what this, if this is valuable for you. So Amazon is letting KDP authors offer download rights management free books as EPUB and PDF. So that means, as I've understood it, you can upload a book, you can allow someone to download it and totally keep it offline and keep their own copy of it. Um, what do you think? Is that valuable for you? Do you care? I haven't thought through it enough to actually care, although I do like the idea of being able to kind of keep a copy of my book and not have it taken away from me forever. At the same time, I think especially once I buy a book, I'd like the idea sometimes that books can be automatically updated. As an author, as an indie author, it is fascinating to talk with authors who take KDP seriously and they pay attention to it because you can then see where people are reading and maybe where they drop off or how far they get. That can be really helpful if you're paying attention to your KDP, reader analytics for a book. In my case, I haven't been able to mess around with that because I don't have enough books to sell. So for those who do, this is a fascinating and fun conversation. But I like the fact that you can turn off, there we go, digital rights management. You can turn that off. It looks like moving forward, files are no longer locked into Amazon's ecosystem. So it's going to start January 2026. So it's still very recent news. Authors are still going to keep their copyright protections in place. It isn't a free for all. It gives readers more room to use the files that they've already paid for. And I suppose that might mean being able to perhaps move them around or onto different files or something or different readers. So I think that's could be interesting. It may seem small, it signals a bigger shift in how digital books are handled. Authors can now weigh control against accessibility. Readers may get easier access to the formats they prefer. Yeah. Amazon recently made it harder for some Kindle models to export or back up ebooks because there are some readers who definitely prefer keeping local copies. So this seems like it could be a positive thing. What do you think? Is it positive for you? Why do you love it? Or maybe maybe you don't even care. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. This one I thought was fascinating. Trends in fiction publishing as seen at the Frankfurt Book Fair. Let me see if I can zoom in on this one here. Um, so obviously we know that romantasy is a big deal, continuing to grow. So now we've got dark romance, and the fantasy side of the market has intensified. There are heavy graphic novels like Alchemized that are topping bestseller charts. I think it's being turned into a movie too. Dark or dystopian fiction is still an easier to sell than straight up horror. So, um, writing a semi horror book with a nice ending probably makes it dark or dystopian. Um, so let's see where genre mashups are an exception that proves the rule. So now we're seeing a new genre interest in horror romance. Horror romance. So we've got romantasy. Now we're moving into horror romance. Seems like it would be contradictory, but maybe not. We're finding a way to make it work. So a creative mashup with a clear readership in mind and a target shelf in the bookstore means a stronger pitch. Um, Where did that go? I tried to highlight this earlier, but it wouldn't let me highlight. This one here, all across the spectrum, publishers continue to invest in projects that come with proof of concept and authors whose resume help them stand out from the crowd. So the success of the romantasy genre, as, editors are now ready for something new, and they worry about a glut of romantasy books on the market, but it is still selling well. So we're looking ahead to what is coming next. Where are people going? But people are still investing in luxurious physical editions. This is going to be continue being a big thing. If we're spending perhaps more on ebooks, people are looking for and enjoying more beautiful collector's editions, especially when books become part of decoration for your home, for your environment. So we're loving these beautiful things, collector's editions. All right. Let's see. So they're talking about the fair, um, and positive news and middle grade stuff like that. Okay, that was the major thing I just thought was interesting. Was this horror mance was a new thing coming up? So we'll keep an eye on that. Is this something you are aware of? Are you seeing anything about this? Please let us know, and I would be interested to see if you've got any additional thoughts or news on that. I think that wraps the news for today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Again, Legend Fiction channel is for indie authors who are tired of all the sucky fluff advice that's out there, who are interested to figure out how AI can perhaps support them without replacing them. But they want to write their dream novel, and they want help with marketing, and they want help learning how to build writing habits, how to find friends, and how to grow their readers, and how to sell more books. If that's you, and if anything from this past live stream has been helpful, please say hi. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear any questions that you have and answer them, and please share what I think about them. So please drop a comment. And what I'll do is probably clip out a bunch of these and share them as individual videos. And then if you're a member on this channel, you can get access to this full replay and the live editing that began this. And I might continue doing that. I think I'll continue doing that with each episode. So um, yeah, I hope that this has been helpful. Let me know. And if you've got news or something that you want me to think about or talk about, you can DM it to me. You can send me an email. You can drop a comment on an existing video. Um, Shout out to where did it go? Shout out to a somebody who asked a question on the one of the last videos that was shared. They had asked, um, "What was the Pomodoro app that Father Roderick uses?" So we shared a video on writing with ADHD, and Father actually shared a answer. He's using Session. So if you're somebody you have ADD and you're trying to write, and you are using trying to go through different tools that are testing. So shout out to Tearstone Actual 9773. If you're looking for a helpful Pomodoro app, Father Roderick is using Session on Mac OS, but he's also testing out the free open source Super Productivity app, which apparently is even more powerful. So there you go. Shout out to that comment. And goodness. Shout out to Lizzie W-ILC. She says, I've tried so many tools and software, I had to stop because there were too many features that allowed me to not focus on writing. Now, if I want to write online, I use Google Docs. But for the most part, I had to go old school and write in a notebook. And then they use capacities for their notes. Takes a bit to set up, but it is free. Goodness, that sounds like me. Trying to stay on top of everything. Um, yeah, somebody, Kenignero, shout out to Kenignero says, "The only thing holding me back from writing a bestseller is finding the right software tool, I swear." Um, Honestly, you're probably not kidding. It is probably absolutely true. Finding the right tool can make or break an author if you can't seem to get it together. All right. Um, Last thing that I want to share with you, we do have merch. So check it out. We've got a bunch of new items on our merch store. I'm going to screen share and show this. If this is something that you want to write like a legend, check it out. If you're part of the tournaments, we've talked about this a couple of times today. We have fantastic merch items around our tournament, but you can check it out. We've got collections here around I Start Stories. So if you do, you might love this. Check it out. Sold on Fourth Wall. There's probably links right below this video, or if you go to the shop tab on our Legend Fiction channel. So I'll go right here. There you go. Go to the store right on our channel. Look, you can see all of these, and it'll be updated both the newest ones that we have. Did that actually show it on screen? Hold on. Share this tab. For example, you look at these. If you're into writing, you want to support Legend Fiction, show your pride. You can shop the merch. You can do that. Um, so there you go. Grab from the store, make your desk look epic, support the brand, shop the merch. All right, have an awesome rest of your week. Keep writing. I'll be back next week. Cannot wait to hang out with you again.